Hello viewers, and welcome back to for final maths class. In our previous videos we did start with rational functions, okay, and we looked at how to the definition of rational function. We look at the domain of rational function as well as the range of rational function. Today we are going to look at the zeros of rational function, because you can be given a question and you'll be asked to find the zeros of that particular rational function. Now this is very simple, or this is a simple subtopic under rational function. The reason being that if you are given a question like what we have on the board, for instance f of x and g of x, and you are asked to find the zeros of f of x or the zeros of g of x, all you need to do is to pick f of x and then equate it to 0. Okay, when you equate it to 0, then you solve for the variable involved in the question. There you will have your zeros. Okay, so the solutions that you have for that particular function will be what? The zeros of the rational function. So straightforward, let's solve these questions and then use it to further explain what we are talking about when zeros of rational function is being asked. All right, now when you pick the first question, all you need to do is to set f of x to what? 0. Okay, so when you pick the function which is x squared plus 2x minus 8, okay, all over x plus 8, then you set it to what? 0. Okay, now setting it to 0, then you solve for the unknown variable which is the x's in the equation or in the expression. Okay, so now here what we'll do is you multiply both sides of the equation, both the right hand side and the left hand side, by the denominator here. In other words, we find the LCM, then we use the LCM to multiply. We have a fraction here. Okay, so we use the LCM to multiply both the right and the left hand side of the equation that we have here. The LCM will give us x plus 8. Okay, so if x plus 8 multiplies this side of the equation, we'll be left with x squared plus 2x minus 8 equal to, when x plus 8 also multiplies this 0, we will still have what? 0 over there. All right, now from here then we solve for the variable which is unknown, which is the x's involved here. Okay, so there we will have to what? Factorize this quadratic. This is a quadratic equation, so we factorize the quadratic equation. After factorizing it, then we equate each of the factors to 0, then we solve for the s. So this is what I mean. So factorizing this, which I have taught in our previous video. So if you have not visited how to factorize quadratic equation, you can go back to our previous videos and then look at how to factorize quadratic equation. And this is very simple. So what we'll do is we will multiply the coefficient of the x square by the constant which is minus 8 here. So when you multiply the constant by the coefficient of x square, which is 1, so it will be 1 times minus 8, which will give us minus 8. Okay, then we look for two factors of minus 8, which if we multiply we will have this minus 8, but if we add them we will have this, which is the coefficient of x in the quadratic equation. Okay, so I will be taking two factors, 2 of the factor, which will give us what? Minus 2 and then 4. Okay, so minus 2 and 4, when you multiply minus 2 by 4 you have minus 8, but when you add minus 2 and then 4 you have what? These 2. Okay, so we put them in factors form. Okay, so you have x minus 2, then what? X plus 4, then we equate them to what? To 0. Okay, so after equating them to 0, then having done this, we can now pick each of the factors and we equate them to 0. Okay, so now we have x minus 2 to be equal to 0. All right, so when we move 2 to the other side to give us x to be equal to what? 2. All right, at this side too we have x plus 4 giving us what? 0. So when we move 4 to the other side to make x the subject, we have what? X to be equal to minus 4. All right, so these two factors, or these two answers of x, is the solution for this quadratic equation. Okay, so now you state, after getting them, that the zeros of the function which is what? F of x, or the zeros of f of x are 2 and minus 4. Okay, and you'll be done with the question. Okay, so quickly let's look at the second question also, which also says that we have g of x to be equal to x squared minus 4 all over these two factors. Okay, x minus 3 multiplying what x plus 2. Okay, so all you need to do is to set g of x to 0. Okay, so you have x squared minus 4 over x minus 2, then x plus 2, which is equal to what? 0. Okay, now we still find the LCM just like we found LCM for this question. Okay, so the LCM will be the denominator of this fraction, so we use that one to multiply here, and it will left with x squared minus 4. It will left with x squared minus 4 because when we multiply this fraction by this denominator will cancel that LCM that we found. Okay, so if it cancels it, then it will be left with what? X squared minus 4. Okay, and here when you multiply this by that, you have what? 0, because 0 multiplied by any value at all, it gives you what? 0. And here we solve for our x, so x squared will be equal to, remove the 4 to the other side of the equation, which will give us what? Positive 4. Then we square root both sides to get our answer, or to get our 4, which is the answer. Okay, so now this square will cancel this square root, and then x will be equal to the square root of 4 will give us what? 2. Okay, to give us 2, or it will give us plus and minus, or plus or minus 2. Okay, therefore the zeros of g of x are plus or minus 2, which will bring us to the end of the solution for the second question. Okay, so sometimes it will be given to you and you will have to factorize this and make some cancellation before you can go ahead and then put the equation to 0, and sometimes it is just like this. So all you need to do is what? Just put the function to 0. After putting the function to 0, then you multiply through, or you do what you call cross multiply. Okay, so instead of even finding the LCM and then multiplying through by the LCM, you can do cross multiply. Okay, here cross multiply means that this is over 1, right? So here and there, right? This is cross, so you use this to multiply that and use this to multiply that. You realize that when you use this to multiply this, which is the 1, so x squared minus 4 times 1, we'll be having x squared minus 1. Okay, minus 4. All right, and here too, when you use these two factors to multiply the 0, we still have our 0. The same thing applies to this side too. When you do the cross multiply, you have the same situation over here. So this will bring us to the end of the zeros of rational function. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed. That means if you are new to this page, you have to subscribe and turn the notification bell on, so you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Do have a